Welcome to the Collectible Cartel, guys. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also check us out on Facebook and Instagram. My links are in the description below. If you like what I'm doing, you can also check me out on Twitch. I stream every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. My link is also in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome everyone, this is Chatting with the Cartel. My name is Daniel Collins. I will be your host for this series. In this series, we hope to get a lot of competitive Pokemon players from all around the world, talk to them about their recent achievements, get to know them a bit better, and what a better way to start, fresh off a top 8 Worlds finish in the Master Division, with our first guest, Kaiwen Kuan.
Hey, what's up?
First of all, congratulations on your top 8 finish, man. I sure you must be super proud of that finish.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy, of course. Can't be disappointed with the top 8, so it's pretty good. Yeah, thanks for that.
Nah, it's yeah, I can't, like, up until now, Australia have probably failed at Worlds in Masters. Like, we've had top 16 has probably been our best finish up until this year. You managed to make it all the way to top 8 alongside Henry Brand. He goes on to win it eventually. I
Yeah,
feel like,
great.
yeah, it's great. I feel like, unfortunately, this happens to be the year we tend to be the forgotten Australian.
That's all right.
But
Yeah.
your achievement, nevertheless, is absolutely amazing. Make top 8 in the world. But
I,
oh yeah,
I just
go.
want to add, sorry, just probably part of the reason because of that is mainly because the top 8 this year has been so difficult to obtain in Oceania because I think every player in the top 8 was just performing so well consistently throughout the entire year.
Yeah,
So it's not really if you look at the results, I think it was coming from a while away because of just how consistent everyone was performing throughout the year. I had a feeling that someone was going to go deep. It just had to happen. Just from the way I saw everyone was playing, I just thought, man, this is quite scary how good Oceania has become.
yeah,
Yeah.
and for sure. I mean, you look at the top 8 Oceania at the end, and like just the amount, like where the points bar was compared to like previous years.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
there's a
No, it
few
was like
people
1,000 this year.
over 1,000 points and stuff like that. Like we haven't had points like that for quite a while in Oceania. So it's good to see the top players just keep on winning. But I want to get to know you a bit better and talk about where this all began for you. We'll go wind it back a few years, and I want to ask you about how you got into the game of Pokemon. What got you into the game of Pokemon?
Right. Okay. Originally, when I was really young, I used to collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I still remember waking up in the morning and I'd watch the anime online
Yeah,
and on TV, and it was really cool. And for any of the Yu-Gi-Oh fans that are out there, I played during the 5Ds era, when the synchros came out.
yeah,
But then I went to Malaysia and saw family, and I hadn't been back for a very long time. Um, I went to my cousin's room, and he had all these Pokemon cards on his table, and they were from the 2005, 6, and 7 eras. So we're talking Holon Mentors, Holon
yeah.
Transceivers, all the EX series sets.
What everyone would talk is the good era.
Yeah, basically the good era of playing the 06 skilled era,
Yeah,
which is in my opinion, I think that and 2010 are the two best eras to play.
yeah,
So um, then I sort of looked at the cards and I was like, this looks really cool. I think this looks fantastic. Because back then the reverses had it's just the picture hollow.
yeah. With like
And
the set name in the bottom
yeah,
corner. Yeah,
so I just thought they looked exquisite. So I remember I filtered around his entire collection and just asked him, could I just have these cards? And he said, yeah, sure, just take them. So I took them back and thought to myself, this looks amazing. So then I came back to Australia, and this was in 2010. Back then, so I believe there was a set that was just coming out, which was Platinum Arceus, and it was leading into Heart Gold Soul Silver. I went and bought 3 Platinum Arceus packs, and it was my first 3 booster packs ever. And then sort of towards the start of 2011, he
yep,
came to Australia. My cousin came to Australia, and he brought a bunch of his cards with him. He brought and for all the old school players, he brought Meta Knight with him. So
yeah.
a massive archetype back in 2006. And I had a bunch of cards that I had accumulated, and this was the Ampharos from Mysterious Treasures, right? And he saw like all the cards that I had. And they're all terrible, by the way. Like I had like a Dustor level X, and that was probably the best card I had. Terrible card, terrible
Yeah.
card. He sort of like looked at the cards that I had, and I thought trainer cards sucked. Like I saw, so back then, like I had Cyrus's Conspiracy, and I was like, this card's shit. Like this, like I mean,
Yeah.
come on, it's terrible. Like you search your deck for an energy, I draw like 5 of them every time.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So he sort of like took a bunch of cards and built like a very basic like simple Ampharos deck for me, and had like a 4/4/4 Ampharos with like I think it had Steelix in it as well. It was some weird stuff.
Yeah.
Some weird stuff. So then with that I was like really excited, so I sleeved them up in like those Ultra Pro clear sleeves. Like we're talking
Oh
about.
yeah, where everyone had clears back in the day. Yeah.
Everyone had clear. I reckon everyone has to start with clears.
Yeah, everyone started with clears and they're like, wait, this is bad.
Yeah. and like my deck was like some block, and I would just struggle to shuffle. And he had like Ultra Pros, like normal Ultra Pros, and I was like, that's pretty cool. But I can beat him. And he moved me 100 times. It wasn't even close. Like I was playing a card that was like 3 years ahead of his, and he was still destroying me. So yeah, like my deck was terrible. It ran like 4 supporters, and I had Bill from Hardcore Soul Silver as like the supporter. So
Yeah.
it was terrible.
Yeah.
After that, but like I still loved like the cards, like the way they looked and all that. But I thought like the game, like, and he taught me how to play it, right? And I thought the way that you played the game was really, really cool, because it was because comparatively to Yu-Gi-Oh, so with Yu-Gi-Oh you can respond to your opponent whenever you turn,
trap cards and instants and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I liked how in Pokemon that when you played your turn, you had autonomy on whatever you wanted to do. So there was no response. So you could prepare for whatever your opponent had.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I just remember distinctly like that was something that I really liked about the game. So then after that, so terrible deck. I just kept buying booster packs like whenever I got some sort of money. Like I still remember like I used to go to school and like my mom would give me like $10 to go like buy canteen food, and I would just like money, and I'd just go and buy a pack.
Yeah, I'm not eating today. We're getting Pokemon cards, boys.
Yeah, exactly, getting Pokemon for the day. That was the goal. So, and because in 2011, this is like sort of when like a bunch of like really good sets came out. Like we had like Unleashed, Undaunted, and Triumphant, and then obviously like that was like 2010, and then it led to Black and White that came out in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
And obviously, Triumphant, Core Legends, and Black and White, those 3 sets were like pretty revolutionary in terms of like the competitive scene.
Yeah.
It came out with like Magnezone Prime and Omega Prime and like really expensive stuff, really playable stuff.
Yeah, it shook up the meta a lot.
Yeah. And then basically I started searching online like pack openings, because I was really looking forward to get these new cards. And I found the J-Wits randomly while searching stuff online. Because and I still remember like the video I clicked on was this Christmas pack opening that he had in 2010.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I clicked on his channel and it had a bunch of competitive content. And I'm like, SP, what's that? Like, I don't know what SP is. Clicked on the video.
Little did you
and
know.
it's like, just get one. Yeah. And then I remember seeing a Luxray GL that was basic, and I'm like, what the hell? Basic.
Yeah. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No. And then as I was saying as well, before we had when we were off air, like so I saw like he was playing a 4/2/4 Blastoise, and I was like, 2 War Turtles? Why would you ever play 2 War Turtles?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, then from there, I sort of started to like learn about different cards, like different supporters and like why they were good.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of, and then because these videos were obviously really informational and really good, explaining to me like what decks were actually good, and leading up to Worlds as well. He explained like he had a top 10 list of like the decks that were good with like some new rotation. I don't even know what rotation was back then. Like,
yeah.
Like I had to do all my research, and I was like some kid that was just on a computer. So, so I ended up doing all that, and then he went to Worlds and he did really well. And then when he came back, he said, like he mentioned a bunch of names like Kyle Sukovic and pay players from the top cut, and then that led me to the top cut, and then I started to like research them and watch their videos, and that was sort of how I started to understand like what the competitive game was.
Yeah.
So my first deck in the middle of 2011, this was like pretty much exactly when Emerging Powers came out, so like right after Worlds. was Reshiflosion because it was cheap and it was
Yeah.
and he I distinctly remember he said in his deck, he said in his video, this deck is good for beginners, and I was like, yep, that's what I'm
I
gonna
mean,
play.
I'm a beginner.
Yep, I'm a beginner, I'm gonna play it. It's so easy, and it was really easy. It was very basic and it just taught you how to just do the fundamentals really well.
Yeah.
Which is good. Yeah. So then from there, I didn't enter a competitive tournament for the year. Actually, it was only because I was scared. Like, I didn't want to go to a tournament and just get wrecked. So,
Times have changed apparently.
Yeah. So, I think everyone goes through that fear, like especially when you're young. Like,
Yeah.
you don't want to go in and just get destroyed. So, I played at school a lot with a bunch of friends, and I remember we used to play like at the back in the library, like in the corner, because like so. Like for any like Victorian here, like I went to a school called Scotch College back then. So like that school was like yeah, so it's like a very elitist school. So whenever we like played on the tables, we had like, these like year 10s coming up and picking up our cards and annoying us. So
Yeah.
we had to pay at the very back, and it was but it was really fun. Like that was probably one of my some of my best memories back in high school. I loved playing the game just in general. Just trying out new decks and buying new cards. Like it was amazing. And then I found singles. Like I went to a game store. I'm like, what the hell? You can buy singles? Like this is amazing.
I've been wasting my money buying booster packs. What is this?
Yeah, why did I ever buy booster packs?
Yeah.
Just buy whatever cards I wanted. And
Yeah, exactly.
and also obviously back then, like the card, like I feel like a lot of the cards were more accessible than what they were like than what they are now. I mean, now you have like the Den AGX is like $30, like even regular art. But
Yeah.
back then, you had like one print of like a lot of cards and stuff like Zekrom, right, which was or like Reshiram that were really cheap. They were like $4 for a promo, and you could buy a playset and probably strike a deal for like 4 for 12 or something, or 4 for 14.
Yeah.
And you save a few dollars everywhere, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I didn't enter my first competitive event until the middle of 2000, well, actually no, not the middle. It was like towards the end of 2012. And this is like after Next Destinies came out, and it was a battle.
That's like when I started.
Yeah. So I feel like so that was my first ever competitive tournament, and it was a battle road where I played Durant. And
like Mill Durant?
Yeah, like the Mill one.
Wow.
And the 4 decks that were like the best were CMT, Zekrom Electric, Terrakion, and Durant. But the problem with the first 2 decks were I didn't own Mewtwo EX.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
Box.
That was a money card.
That was a money card. So I didn't own it. So I really wanted to play CMT. And I mean, to this day, CMT is my favorite deck, just in general.
Yep.
But I really wanted to play it back then, but I didn't own Mewtwo, so I didn't think I would. And obviously, I watched like a bunch of Top Card videos, and I actually sent in a question. He did like one segment every week where like you could send him an email and ask him a question about the metagame.
Yeah.
And I sent him a question. I'm like, oh yeah, if you had to choose between Terrakion and Durant, what would you pick? Because I had to pick between those.
Because you couldn't pick the other 2.
Yeah, I couldn't pick the other 2.
I like it.
And his first comment was, "Oh, I think you should play Zekrom Electric," and I'm like, "That wasn't part of the question."
That's not what I asked.
So, I ended up picking Durant because, well, he actually recommended. He said, if you expect CMT, like, you should play Durant. And I was thinking to myself, look, I don't know what
I don't know what everyone else is playing.
I've never been anywhere, but Durant seems the most like neutral. It's everything. So, I ended up playing it in like, and I ended up going 2-2 at the tournament.
Yep.
So I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I remember like first 2 rounds. Like first round I played against a theme deck, but then like second round I played against Angus actually.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And he was playing Zekrom Electric, and I remember like right after that round I lost, and I was like, I should have played Terrakion.
Yeah. Damn it.
Damn. Yeah. So. Yeah. But yeah, it was a really interesting experience. Like I didn't know anyone, right? So
okay.
I sort of just rocked up and just I was like really shy, and then I just sort of like stayed in the corner and just observed stuff. Like tried to watch a few of the masters. Like I knew a couple of the masters, like this guy called E, who used to play. But he doesn't play anymore.
Yeah.
And then Roland, he also used to play.
Yeah.
Anymore. So like the old school guys. I knew them, and I sort of just like whenever I finished my game, I would just sort of just go on and just see what they were doing and be in awe of their full art Mewtwo's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my first event, and then and then a bunch of my friends and we just decided we just when 2013 started, sorry, like when that season started, like
Yep.
we would go and play for real,
Okay.
and we would want to try and get an invite and see if we can go to Worlds because like it seemed like a really cool experience. So
Wow.
yeah, that's basically how I started. And then 2013 was the first season. Well, that season was the first season that I had.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you a bit about that first season because that was the first time I ever kind of had anything to do with you because 2013 Nationals was my first event.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Cool.
and it's crazy to hear that I didn't even realize that like 13 was like your first season, like competitively.
Yeah. It was my
And
first.
then, yeah, and then you go and win nationals. You're a senior at this time,
Yeah. 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 And
and
then I
you
got as well.
go and win nationals in your first competitive season,
Yeah. Yeah. That
and
was.
then
Yeah.
take that and go to Worlds in Vancouver
Yeah.
and return home world champion. Like that just like actually blows my mind that you can like in your first competitive season. What did you guys do in your first competitive season? Oh,
Yeah.
I became world champion, and everyone
Yeah.
else is like, oh, I went to a regional, and
Yeah.
that's like the gap.
Yeah. So okay, there's a. So like, do you want me to talk about my first competitive season, or do you do you want to just go through that,
Oh,
or?
I think we can get to the point, like get to like worlds, and it's like, well, get to like nationals, worlds. Was it crazy to think that like at the end of your first season, you're winning Australian nationals?
Yeah, it was. It was very crazy. It was completely unexpected, I must say, because so all right, there is something that probably should mention before this, and this is just like just in general for everyone who's like wanting to improve,
Yep.
because I felt like this was something that I learned really quickly in 2013, and that's so in Pokemon, right? What I found in 2013 was the games that I was losing, and like this is because so whenever I played, right, I always took a very analytical approach whenever I lost games.
Yep.
So I always think to myself like what I would do differently, and I never like try I never try and blame luck. But so what I did was I would grind watching people play online, like so. Kyle Sukovich commentating on games was the best free resource that has ever come
Yeah.
out in the history of the game.
Oh, the top cut did heaps for the game back in the
He
day.
did heaps. So every time they would release like a city championship video, he would always go through like every single play that he would make differently,
Yep.
and he would critique it in a very similar way that Azul Garcia Griego does it today.
Yeah.
So I because I was obviously young and I had the time. Over the summer, I would just sit down and I would just like watch his videos and I would just absorb all the information that he would tell me. So, well, that he would say.
Yeah.
And it actually impacted the way that I played in that, like, I could see, like, the difference in the way that I played from the start of the season towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I could see myself improve. And I felt that I was seeing myself improve. So, by the time I got to nationals, so it was still unexpected, like completely. By the way,
Yeah.
I lost round one to Brent. All right.
Oh. Well, if you're gonna lose to someone, right, you might as well
Yeah.
be Brent.
And it was Brent's first season as well. Like, my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. So I lost round one to Brent. He was playing Darkrai. So yeah, I played Plasma at Nats.
Yeah, you played DDK, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I played TDK with a Lugia Tech no Absol.
Yeah.
I still remember like when I went, my mom had no idea what I was even doing. Like she just thought I was going to some random event.
Some random hotel.
Yeah, some random like tournament. Like she dropped me off at the hotel. She's like, "Yeah, have fun." And then I was like, cool, "All right, I'm gonna have fun."
Yeah.
Yeah, like I was really nervous. So yeah, but obviously my stars aligned and I did really well. So it was pretty unreal. But the more I reflected on like the performance and like the way that I went at that tournament, I just felt like there was that progression of improvement, and but like I didn't know it, and I didn't understand, and I didn't really necessarily understand why it happened until probably late in 2014 when I had a bit more time to reflect on like the whole world's experience.
Yeah.
And that's where I sort of like started to create like fundamentals for myself, as in like I started to write down like exactly why I believed that why I believed things were the way they were in the game.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
and that reflects to like the way that I play today in the sense that I work a lot with Clifton,
Yeah.
Clifton in
Yeah.
Singapore, and so we have strict rules on like the way that we build decks and the way that we think about the game,
Okay.
and like we think that those rules are what people who continuously perform well in the game they think in this way, but they probably don't realize that they're thinking in that particular way. But
Yeah.
I feel like we've sort of reached a level where like, well, we've thought about it enough to the point where we're like we can actually put it on a page, like we can say it,
Yeah.
we can put it
Okay.
into so like back then, like I didn't really understand why this was all happening. Anyway, so going into Worlds, I tested a lot with Chris Khan, and Chris was an incredible player,
Yeah.
and he's still an incredible player. If he played the TCG today, he would destroy the TCG.
Oh, he is like literally my arch nemesis. He like
Yeah.
literally like knocked me out of 2 cuts back to back
Oh,
at regionals.
oh,
Like beat me top 8 and then beat me in the final with the next one. And I was like,
oh,
cool,
damn.
thanks.
Yeah, but he was really good, and I
Yeah,
tested
he
with,
was.
I tested with him for Worlds all throughout that year, and I tested with a lot of Australians that I looked up to. So like back then, you had players like Jennifer Wilson, who
Yeah.
was also really good, and then Jordan was playing in his like first or second season or something like that. So he was also like up and coming. He was really good as well. And then like Naomi was in seniors, and she was actually she was really good too. And then but a couple of other people up.
What a stacked seniors group. Holy shit.
Yeah, actually, like the seniors like class during that time was.
Yeah.
Now they're all like crazy masters.
Yeah, now they're all crazy good masters, yeah.
Yeah, like Brent as well. Like he was also really good too. So by the time I got to Worlds, so this is before I knew like about techs and stuff. Like and like the way that Worlds works now is usually like I find that like the right tech gets you places. So
Yep.
like if you look at Henry's deck from this year, like he ran a Kobalion EX. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
like a Kobalion GX, which is really random. And then like my list, I ran Sigilith,
Yeah.
and Cyrus. So in that sense, so back then I didn't know what techs were, but I felt like at Worlds the stars aligned because everyone in seniors played a very teched up plasma list that beat the rest of the meta, but lost to the most consistent plasma deck in the mirror.
Yeah, okay.
So I played a vanilla, very consistent plasma list that did the same thing every single time. Played against one Darkrai that the entire tournament. That
Oh.
prized 2 EHAMs in a best of 1 format, which
Oh.
was insane luck. Like that's crazy, right? If you
Yeah.
think about it. And then I played against like, and then Blastoise was a very, very favorable matchup for Plasma in general. And then the only other matchup that really, well, like Electric as well was also quite favorable because you could just kill the Dynamos and like the Electric's really
Yeah,
early.
yeah, the snipe with Kaiwen was so good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the only other matchup was the mirror. And the thing is, because every list was running Lugia, and my list wasn't running Lugia, and every other list was running like weird stuff like Cofagrigus in seniors, Umbreon to raise HP.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like, it was like funky stuff and like
Yeah.
weird amounts of like and like trying to put in Lugia with like a Kyurem like a hybrid build. And like also using Absol, so like I feel like they're like double dipping with a lot of different energies, like really similar to like how Simon Nero built his list.
Yeah.
Like a lot of seniors played and adapted to that sort of strategy, but those lists inherently did worse against the mirror.
Yeah.
Because
they're a less consistent version of the same deck.
So every single mirror I played, they would always lose out on some sort of resource. Like I would force them to find the 4th laser, but some of them didn't even play 4 lasers because they couldn't.
They didn't have the room.
Yeah, exactly. So I would just run away with games really easily because they weren't able to play a list that was vanilla. And then obviously I donked, and because it was best of 1, like you play a plasma list, like you donk a Squirtle 10-1, you get a free win. So I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Easy.
By the way, I must mention my first round ever at Worlds was a donk on a Squirtle. Like that was it took seconds. Like it was literally like he like opened it, I showed him like my hand, and I was like, oh sorry man, and then he's like, yeah, good game, and then we just left.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just in general, like so in that tournament, so after I made top 32, I went 8-0 in Swiss, and there was a Terrakion like Garbodor there was a Terrakion Garbodor Rogue that was like being played in seniors at that time, And my top 32 game was against a guy who was playing that list, and it was like a list that ran like 3 enhanced hammers and
Oh wow.
anti-plasma.
Yeah.
And I lost game 1, and then I adapted to like over attach to my Kyurem game 2, so I could like make sure that it's not weak to enhance hammer.
Yeah.
So
So
I beat him
constantly
game
could keep
2.
attacking.
Yeah, and then game 3, I drew the worst hand possible. I drew like the worst hand I've ever seen in my life. Like it was like 6 energies, and I started Deoxys, and then I top decked like a laser. It was terrible.
Oh wow.
So I attached pass first turn, but my opponent did the same thing. Like except he had a change active. So like comparatively, the stats were like both terrible.
Yeah.
But his start was comparatively even worse than mine.
Yeah.
Even though it was like the worst possible start you could ever have. So so that was insanely lucky.
Yeah.
And then I was the one that drew out of it first, and then I was able to beat him. And then in top 16, I played against Plasma, and top 8, another Plasma, but like once again, like really teched out list that lost to the mirror.
Yeah.
Then top 4 Blastoise, which was a good matchup, and then in the finals it was Eels, which was also a good matchup. So it was I don't know. I felt like I feel like if one domino falls, like everything just like chain reactions for you.
Yeah.
And that's
everything aligns.
Usually, yeah, like everything aligned. And in that tournament, it was probably dumb luck, like at the very start, because I didn't know about Tex. Like Tex didn't exist in my mind for Worlds. I just wanted to play a consistent deck.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just so happened that the consistent deck that I played was better than the teched out versions of the deck that they played.
The irony, right? The irony.
Yeah. So I was fully set on playing that, because I mean all the Australians that played Plasma, they didn't play teched out list either. They played like really standard, like consistent. They just wanted to do the same thing every game.
Yeah.
But like they didn't do too well because they lost out because they lost out to like the wacky shit that was being played.
Yeah, just hit random stuff.
Yeah, like some of them hit the Flareon deck that like Dylan Bryan played, or
or Hovertoxin and things like that. They've got played that year.
Yeah. That like I mean that stuff like that was in seniors, but I was lucky enough not to meet him. So
yeah.
that was the difference really.
Yeah.
That was the difference. So yeah, I mean yeah. Then I went XO to win Worlds. I mean look, there was a lot of like. Obviously, there's a lot of luck involved. Like to win any big tournament or to do well in any big tournament, there's obviously luck involved. But I put the work in, and
you do your best to mitigate that.
Exactly. And I feel like obviously the best players they mitigate the amount of luck that's involved. So I was able to not only get some luck, but I also played to the best of my abilities, and it got me the result, which was really good. So got a lot of success very very early.
Yeah. So you returned home from Vancouver in 13. You age up to Masters, correct, for 14?
Yep.
You have another great season, earn another Worlds. Well, you go back, ironically, because of your Worlds win anyway.
Yep.
Did you feel being a returning Worlds champion, even though it was a different division, did you feel a lot of pressure to have to perform in your first year as a Master?
Yeah, I did actually. I did. And I still remember in 2014, I entered scarce. Like I did a very scarce amount of events.
Yeah.
Because like I entered only I think 7 in total. I think I entered like 3 challenges, 3 challenges, 2 cities, because back then they were called cities, and then like a regional, and then Worlds. That was it. And then
I'm pretty sure Melbourne Regional was like the only regional you went to.
Correct. Yeah, and I won that one. Which is cool. Look, it's when I played in Masters tournaments, I didn't feel like there was a big difference. And part of the reason why I didn't feel that is because the class of seniors that were being that existed back then was comparable to the Masters cohort, because we had very good seniors, and that shows today. Because
you look at them now, and it's all the seniors who aged up in that group are our best Masters.
Exactly, and they were very good. So we brought each other up.
Yeah.
But it was different because I feel like there was a lot. How do I put it? So just in general, like I didn't understand this concept of traveling to play, because I got my invite in Victoria pretty much like in 2013.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand that you really need a lot of consistency is absolutely key in Masters, and I was scared to do poorly because I felt like I need to hold my name up to not be a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
And obviously that that plays on your mind a lot when you play, and you second guess yourself a lot in the game.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, obviously I went through all of that. I did pretty well at Worlds. I came 24th place.
Yeah, I was like, I think you're top 32 that year. Yeah.
Yeah. I played Evil Tug Arbiter and top 32 that one.
Yeah.
But it's still like, I think the biggest issue with that year was when I aged up, I didn't enter many tournaments. So it didn't matter if I addressed the issue of being scared of failure in my mind.
Yeah.
It was more of the only way that you can really overcome it is if you just actually go and play and get more experience. Because I feel like eventually you're going to fail. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's inevitable, right?
It's going to happen. But but like, to be perfectly honest, it really took me like this season, this past 2019 season, which is like the first real full season I've played like in general.
Yeah, since like 13, I guess.
It's like 13, yeah. Because obviously in 14, yeah, with the free trip I didn't really enter, and we didn't have like the day 2 system back then.
Yeah, it wasn't there. Yeah.
For the viewers that don't know.
Yeah.
So in 2019, I've failed to get CP like a few times this year and done poorly at events as well, and it's just part of the game. Like, it's just the way the cards fall at times, and I was scared of that back then, and I didn't address it in the way that I should have, and definitely a regret that I had.
Yeah,
I should have entered more tournaments, but like more tournaments that I could actively just play and just get that fear out, because it's not even supposed to be a fear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. It's the way life.
Yeah, sure. After you finish your 14th season, or I guess in the past previously, you've been, I don't know, a bit, I don't know, there's been a few people who've like, some negativity has come your way over the past, and I just want to know whether you took the 15 and 16 off for year 11 and year 12, which is completely understandable. You have like your entire life ahead of you, and it's not going to be always Pokemon.
Yep.
But you took that off of school. But did the negativity and that have an effect on you at all? Was that part of the reason?
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. So in terms of the negativity, I think it was really the first time. Sorry.
That's alright.
Just decline that. Okay. So, so at the end of 14 and in 17 and 18.
Yeah.
So I think the big difference between and like the thing that hit me the most was the impact that social media would have on my own mental health. That was like the biggest issue that I had. So I know like now it's something that's been talked about in general.
Yeah.
Because it's a known thing even with like athletes in sport. But it does happen to people, like, and it happened to me because I felt like social media had a big impact on, because it's just sort of out there for everyone to see.
Yeah, and it's always kind of in your face. It's like it's hard to avoid nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you read things about yourself, and you just you want to go into your shell about it.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I regret is I didn't have I didn't speak out about it, as in like I didn't seek anyone's help. What I did was I just internalized everything and I just stepped away.
Yeah.
And but then whenever I stepped away, I realized I love this game. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
So it did have a big impact. And in 2014, sorry, at the end of 14, I was gonna step away anyway, but I did still want to be active in the community, but I chose not to be.
Yeah.
Because of that impact that it had. And then in 2017 and 18, for the same reasons, I stepped away because, but those years it was actually, I was busy with other things.
Yeah.
But it also had a big impact on my own mental health.
Yeah.
I just felt like I needed to clear myself a bit.
Yeah.
And then choose to come back when I felt ready.
Yeah.
And I think like for anyone who, just in general, like if you I deleted social media for a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get away from that because I feel like there's a lot of negativity that can brew from that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you need to save yourself in some way from that, and you can't really turn any corners, or you can't really get over it unless you cut it out of your life.
Yeah.
And you really have to speak to the right people. I mean, I have endless thanks for Clifton because he was there for me whenever it happened, and he always consoled me through it all because I didn't have anyone else to speak to, and obviously I spoke to my parents about it, and it's and they've been very helpful too. But I mean, you've got to speak out to someone about it because it's really important. Taking it alone is difficult.
Yeah.
And it's probably the advice I'd give anyone who's going through a very similar thing.
Yeah, it takes a lot of like courage to talk to people about things that are going on, whether it's just mental health issues or anything. Like, please make sure you reach out and talk to someone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely like the lesson that I've learned from, like, in terms of like dealing with the mental health aspect of the game.
Yeah.
And that's and how it's impacted me from it. So
Sure.
the other advice I'd probably give as well is just for a lot of people out there, just be careful also what you say online because you don't know how it affects people. I'm just gonna like say that because I think it's really I think people
100%.
themselves. Yeah.
No.
But, that's probably another thing.
Yeah.
So,
And then with like nowadays with Pokemon or anything, there's even bigger stakes on the line. There's more pressure, so it's being able to like look within yourself and talk to people if you are down. That's going to be a big help for anybody.
Yeah, of course.
But we get through all that. We come back. We enter the 2019 season.
Yep.
You come back and you start playing competitively again.
Yep.
Did you? It's probably my bad. Did you have any regionals results before the IC?
Yeah, so I had a regional win I have two regional wins. One in 2014, so with the Rayquaza Emble, and the other one was in 2017 when I won with Decidueye Vileplume in Malaysia.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that one.
Yeah, so I've only had two regional.
Yeah,
yeah.
But in 2019, what were your results in this season?
So this season I've bubbled a bunch of regionals, which is but I've also come third place at Oceania International, 10th place in the European International, and then I came fifth at Worlds. So pretty happy with those things.
So you earned most of your points from basically two ICs and then just like local cups and challenges and stuff?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I basically like every time I played a regional or a special event, I would always come top 16. So
yeah, like so you earn a bit of points there.
Yeah, I earned a bit of points from that, but like it was mainly from Oceania International and European International. Were the two big events that I did really well in. I was like motivated to do really well for ICs because I've never done well at an IC before, but I've done well at every other tournament before.
Yeah.
So it was like the only tournament that actually I sort of put it at the start of the season as like it's the only tournament that I never got a trophy for. So like I really want to get a trophy. So
yeah,
I don't actually have one, so it's pretty cool.
That's how I felt about like nationals back in the day. I was like, nationals is like the only level I haven't succeeded at, and I was like, finally on my last season, I like cut nats, and I was like, yes.
Yeah. It's like it's really nice for like your personal achievement. You just think to yourself, yeah, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like you did everything, like you did something at like every level of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was really happy with the especially the Oceania International performance. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But look, obviously, big points grind from the start though.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You want to talk about like the season or like?
Yeah. We can talk a little bit about the season. I kind of want to focus a little bit on. We'll start rolling into the Worlds chat,
sure.
But I want to talk. You played Pika Rom at OCIC, correct?
Yeah. I did.
Is that a deck you just felt like super comfortable with, like just had a natural affinity for? Did you test a lot of things, or that just kind of came naturally?
Right. So, okay, so whenever we like play decks, so we always have three characteristics to a deck that we always hold true, as we think it's like if a deck has these three characteristics, it would be the best deck. So the three characteristics are: has to be consistent, it has to have no contradictions, and it has to be powerful. So, like the best example that I can give is if you compare like Darkrai and Blastoise back in like 2014.
Yep.
Blastoise was the best deck because it sacrificed a little bit of consistency, but it had way more power than Blastoise than like Darkrai would ever have.
Yep.
So it had the perfect ratio of consistency, power, and no contradictions. And like what I mean by no contradictions is
Yeah.
like so like I never liked decks like Evil Targarbator, right? Or like I was never a big fan.
Yeah, because it's got ability. It's got its own ability, and you're shutting it off.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
So I like to have a lot of options and to have endless options at all times. So the thing about Pikarom that really struck out to me was that it had so it had its own consistency in general. So you had Jirachi, which was like really good.
Yeah.
That came out. You were able to handpick whatever cards you wanted.
Yeah.
We also had like ways to search out like Pokemon consistency cards. But at the same time, you had no contradictions at all. So everything synergized with everything in that deck.
Yeah.
There was nothing that you could do that would take away from whatever you wanted to do. So for example, like Zora Lycan was the deck that I tested, but like that deck still played aside from the normal consistency issues of Zoroark back then.
Yeah.
It still ran like a contradiction where like if you wanted to get Muck out in a lot of games, but
Yeah.
at the same time you also wanted to like but that would restrict the amount of options that you had because you can play Lele and
Yeah.
like you get whatever supporter that you want. And that yes, I know that's mitigated by trade, but it is something that you shut yourself off from, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Pikarom was the most powerful deck, and the reason why it was
Yeah.
powerful is Tag Bolt just was able to beat its counters back then.
Yeah.
Because there's no, and
Because you could just tag bulk with Lycanroc, right?
exactly. Just Tag Bolt the Lightning Rock. Yeah, they Tag Bolt the Lightning Rock, the Lycan Rock, and you can just mitigate the prize trade that you would normally lose if it
Yeah.
was just like regular GX.
Yeah.
So putting all that together, we sort of tested a lot of different variants of the list. But I think like 2 weeks before the IC, I just like sort of saw Jolteon GX, and I was like, this card is busted against Malamar.
Yeah.
Because like you could take 3 prizes, and if they don't respect the card, it just wins the game.
Yeah.
So we tested it out, and like we didn't lose a single game to Malamar. Like it was impossible to lose. Like all the Inkays would just die, and you would roll, and like and the card was really good in every matchup because it also hit really good numbers because there are a lot of like for example 170 on a Lele, you're hitting like 110, so like multiples of 30 get you there
Yeah.
with electric power. And then it like one shots a Zapdos with its first attack and an E power, and like just one shots it like straight away with the second attack. So
Yeah.
It had a lot of good synergy against the meta. So we decided to make like some like a box version of the deck because we wanted to have the best of every world, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, it ended up working really well. And yeah, got me top 4. So pretty happy. Only this is really hard that I didn't know how to play around. That was yeah, like if like I was talking to a bunch of people before my top 4 game, and I was asking them if they go attach, like if Stefan went Riolu Rockruff and attached to Rockruff on turn 1, I don't know how I can win. Like it's just like that was a game like, that itself was a game winning play. I was like, what the hell do I do?
Yeah.
So
all he did was attach an energy.
Yeah, all he did was attach energy. And
and I lose the game. What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty So yeah, that was why I played Pikarom in
In the OCIC. So we fast forward to 2019 Worlds. We fast forward to Worlds just done. You finish top 8. You start in day 2.
Yep.
Leading into Worlds, is Pikarom the deck you instantly pick up thinking this is what I'm going to play? Did you go through a lot of other decks? Because it is what you ended up playing. We will swap over and we'll show everyone the list that you did play.
Yeah. So when we were testing for Worlds, and I'm pretty sure everyone sort of went through the same process. That was to pick up Malamar because I think everyone just thought at the start, 4 comms or treasures, and pretty much just like a recurring attacker was really, really good with Giratina. But we sort of quickly figured out that there was some big issues with Malamar that we didn't like. So biggest one was consistency. The other thing was it has one strategy, which is just to recruit Giratina and just hit, and then just sort of set up damage on board to just to knock out with something big, or to knock out with Espeon Deoxys or use spell tags. So if your opponent can get past that one strategy, like the deck's not very good. So
Yep.
we tried Pikarom because well, it was like naturally the next thing that we tried because I mean the deck still has an Ultra Ball, Electromagnetic Radar,
Yep.
and then we sort of realized that the deck was like really consistent and hit really hard, really fast, um, and obviously it has like an inbuilt engine with the Dene, which is really really powerful, and so we sort of gravitated towards that and tried to perfect it. So from there, we identified some issues with a couple of matchups. So originally, our list was running like a couple of Lysias to just try and turbo out as fast as possible. It was always running Jirachi because we felt like the Jirachi version was the version that was least weak to Stamp because we thought Stamp was going to be the best card in the format leading to Worlds.
Yep.
Little did I know that Henry's perfectionist played Stamp. So,
Yeah, that stamp doesn't win worlds at all.
yeah, Stamp doesn't win Worlds at all, but like it was still a really powerful card, and we wanted to have a defense towards it. So obviously we always had the Rachi in from the start, and then sort of as the weeks evolved, we found a weakness because so if our opponents were playing Malamar and got a turn 2 Tenalug and play customs, or if they use Espeon Deoxys in the correct in at an opportune time opportune time, sorry, they'd be able to win. And we needed a way to beat that. So we found Cyrus. Well, Clifton actually found Cyrus, and sort of like jokingly said, "Oh, we should just put Cyrus in the deck." And the more I thought about it, I thought you could checkmate your opponent with Tag World. So you'd force them to either keep 2 Malamars on board or like a Mew and a Malamar.
Yep.
When you force them to make the decision with Cyrus, either way, you leave them with the 1 Malamar on board because you can either Tag World to get rid of the second Malamar or just full blitz the active and you leave them with a Mew and a Malamar. So
Yep.
it pretty much skips their next turn, which is usually enough to win the game, which is really important. And the other tech that we ran was Sigilif, and that sort of only came up like at the very end when we were actually in Washington, like 8 hours before the tournament, where we were really struggling with Mirror. So
Yep.
what we realized was so like we actually were really comfortable with the Reshazard matchup, the ability one, and also the greens ratio because we were able to like if we were able to stamp our opponents at the right time and also get a paralysis lock with Raichu and also like one shot the other Reshazard, so it would pretty much take 6 prizes with 2 Reshazard knockouts.
Yep.
We'd be able to win. And we found that like most of the time they're not going to be able to draw their healing and also continuously get out of the paralysis lock after we stamp them to 3.
Yep.
Or stamp them to 2 or whatever, like however many. It's usually the 2 or 3. And the same usually happened against the ability rush, although the ability rush was a little more scary because it ran non-GXs, but that's a bit different matchup. So the mirror was just like terrible because what would usually happen is the person who would go first would have a significant advantage because they would be able to get the first attachment off, but then it would sort of degenerate down to like the first full blitz would win the game.
Yep.
And if your opponent got the first full blitz going second, then you'd lose going first. But then if your opponent got the first full blitz going first, if you didn't get the first full blitz going first yourself, then you'd also
so far behind.
Yeah, you'd always be so far behind. So effectively, the game degenerated down to like whether you could get the first full blitz, and the only counterplay that we found to that was like really really weird stuff. Like we would have to either get like triple E power and knock out our opponent's blitz. Knock out our opponent's Pikarom with our Pikarom. When we got the blitz second, which means like we got the blitz second, but we got the blitz second with a knockout, which is better than getting like the first blitz.
Yeah.
But like that's way too far fetched. Like you're not ever going to expect that.
Yeah.
And like we tried things with like Mew and like double E power and just like trying to use Raichu, like not even using Pikarom, and it was just every single time we tried something new, it always fell apart. It was so disgusting.
It was who could full blitz first, still, no matter what happened.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like there was a set I remember like we played, and like I was just playing with Damien Filipovsky, who's a teammate of mine, and I was trying to like figure out ways to beat the mirror, and he just mindlessly like played with like there's like no strategy to it. Just he just wanted to get the blitz as fast as possible, and he like won every game. And I just thought to myself, this sucks.
Yeah.
So we sort of thought we just needed to find a way to force them into not blitzing first. But the only way that we could find the way to do that was Sigilif. So if people don't know, it hits. So if your opponent blitzes into a Sigilif, it hits for weakness. So they hit you for 150, but it's actually 300. So it sort of bounces back the damage and it knocks them out instead. And you're trading 2 for 3, which is really really good. So, and then if they don't do that, they don't get the blitz first because they basically skip their turn. So they'll hit with like a Zapdos, but then you'll get the blitz first yourself,
Yeah.
which is perfect. I actually got a couple of messages even from on Facebook about why the Sigilif is good
Yeah.
and when you should use it. So people think that it's only relevant because of the lightning ride turn, but it's not actually just relevant for that. Like that's a good aspect to Sigilif, but
Yeah.
the main way that I used it at Worlds was I actually just searched for it turn one and then I just sent it active in the mirror so that they could never tempo out with their own first full blitz, and then
Yep.
I was able to full blitz first, and that made the difference in the game.
Was the
Uh,
was the was that the reason for the Cherish Ball include? The
Correct.
ability to get the Sigilif rather than like a fourth electromagnetic? Was the Cherish
Yeah.
Ball just an extra out to Sigilif?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
actually, the Cherish Ball was actually like we didn't have that in our list until like 5 hours before the event. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and we had to go to sleep. And like Clifton calls me up at night, and he's like, "Yeah, look, we should cut the fourth radar because we were running 4 radars before.
Yeah, yeah,
We
makes
should
sense, right? It's all lightning stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's like, yeah, like we should run a church roll, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
And it's like hung up the phone, changed my list, and then went back to sleep, and then it worked out. It worked out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also good when you get like Vulcan in the late game, and you draw like a resource that you need to use. Like for example, you draw like an E power,
Yeah.
and you draw a Vulcan, but you don't want to use radar to get a Dedenne, and you want to get like so like you get an energy and you want to use that. You have an E power in your hand, you want to use that. I'm just giving like an example, but this
Yeah.
actually did happen in the tournament. And you got the cherish ball that you could just immediately get a Dedenne just for one instead of
Yeah.
having to discard stuff. And that
Sacrifice
actually,
more resources. Yeah.
yeah, that actually was relevant in the tournament against Brent round one. So it was pretty important. Yeah,
Oh, so you paired Brent round one, did you?
yeah, I did. I
Of
did.
day two? Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Aussies pairing Aussies at World is just actually ridiculous. Like the amount of times that happens.
Yeah, and then I think like Brent also paired VDK, and it was just a bunch of Aussies like throughout the day just paired. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
I remember my first round at Worlds, I paired Kashara
Oh boy.
in
Oh,
2014. That was like my first round. I was like, I came all this, and I was even like rooming with him. It's like,
it sucks.
I came all this way just to pair a roommate. It was like, okay, cool.
And like Brent and I pretty much like we just knew each other's lists as well, so it was like really.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know.
knew how it was going to play out,
Yeah,
kind of.
like we already knew how it was gonna play out, so yeah, it was pretty. I don't know. It was just pretty interesting. Yeah, but yeah,
Alright.
that's basically how we came up with the list, and
Okay. Cool.
yeah,
I think
there's
everything else is relatively set. I guess the force switch over maybe like another skateboard, is that just literally to be able to reuse Raichu as often as possible?
Yeah, so just like the whole idea was obviously you can't retreat twice, and there's no
Yeah.
Guzma in the form, so you want to like make sure that when you have Rachis and you have switches, like a really common play was you would just retreat with the Zero Aura, or like with the ability, and then you go into a Rachi Stellar Wish and then switch out, and then eventually, as the game progressed, we found that like the fourth switch ended up, or like switches ended up becoming Volkner's late game because what would happen is
Yeah.
your deck would become like it becomes so thin that every time you search for Celebish, you're going to hit whatever you need anyway.
Yeah.
So then as we played, like we played with 3 switches and 2 boards like a few days before the event, and then we just thought, and then we just thought, we're also adding labs into the deck, and that sort of conflicts with the boards too.
Yeah.
So we have the 4 switches, and also it increases the odds of us getting a blitz early because if we have like a really fat guy active,
Yeah.
like a Raichu or a Pika with
Yeah.
multiple tree costs, then we like needed to get it out of the active spot.
Yeah, then switch is obviously always going to be
Switch is
better than
obviously-
board.
Yep, much better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It allows us to like pivot between multiple Jirachis as well. Like it was really good. It was really good. Yeah, and also as I said, doesn't conflict with the labs, which is pretty important for the tournament. Yeah.
Awesome. And you took this list all the way to top 8 again, so
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Yeah. Just like only losing to Henry, so.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you had the ability because you went 5-0 and then had the ability to double ID, correct?
No, I was 501.
Oh, okay.
I tied around earlier against a Japanese player, and then
Okay.
I tied with Todd in the last round.
Yeah, I did with Todd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, yeah, look. Anyway, just for closing thoughts about the list, yeah, I think it's really well placed going forward, and I think a lot of people are playing pick a judge, and I think that probably like my picker on list is really well equipped at dealing with the judge version
Yeah, to
because
deal with Supreme Court, as it's been
yeah,
called.
right, yeah, the Supreme Court. It's just because you have ways to recover from it with the Jirachis, and also they don't run Sigilif, so well, I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to be running Sigilif from
They
now
may
on.
now do. Yeah.
Yeah, they may now, but that list, if they're just copying the list,
Yeah.
they don't run Sigilif, which is obviously a huge advantage in the mirror.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably the only way that you lose that matchup is if they judge you and you just dead draw off the judge and you don't start Jirachi. So
Yeah.
which is like that's really far fetched because the deck has a lot of
Outs.
start cards. So yeah, it has a lot of outs. So yeah, I think the deck's really well placed. In terms of like other matchups, like I don't think Malamar is like necessary. Sorry, I don't think Malamar is a very good deck. So Cyrus is not necessary, probably anymore.
Yeah.
So you can probably take that out for something else, like I don't know, like a Mew or a fourth E-switch option or something like that.
Yep.
And then otherwise, like it just has like the most even matchups across the board. So if you find yourself that like you're wanting to pick a deck for a tournament and you don't really know what to pick, and you're sort of stuck because you haven't had as much testing with like other lists, like the Reshi list or like for example like the ability Reshi list, which does take a little bit more skill, like admittedly.
Yeah.
Then it's probably better to. It's really good to play this list. It's carries on from last format, pretty much perfectly. So yeah,
All right.
so yeah, that's
All right.
about it.
That's pretty much it. All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming and chatting to me on this first episode of Chatting with the Cartel. Congratulations again on your top 8 at Worlds, and I wish you best of luck for the rest of the season.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, so like, can I make a couple of shout outs before
Yeah, for sure. Shout out whoever you want to shout out, man.
So yeah, I want to shout out Trainer Hub first. Just so they're my sponsor. They provide me a lot of cards, which is basically the way that I'm able to play all my max rarity stuff is basically from them.
Yeah.
I want to shout out Clifton Go, who's like my main testing partner in the game. He's been like insane, pretty much the entire year, and like in years prior as well. He's always been fantastic in testing and very theoretically very very good at the game.
Yeah.
And then another guy, he's in Malaysia. He doesn't really get too much recognition, but Atavan Akilan, and he's also like another player that has done very well this year at Worlds, and he's tested with me a lot. And lastly, I just want to shout out like Australia in general, because I think we've actually come we've come really far as a country in terms of skill at Worlds, and like especially Brent, Christian, and a bunch of like the Sydney players as well. Like they've been really helpful testing for Worlds and spitting ideas and just I don't know. I feel like a lot of the communities are becoming a lot more tight knit, and it's always good to see when players are always getting along, and it was very nice to spend that time with a lot of them at Worlds, because it brought me back to like my first season in 2013. I felt like it was truly like a country effort. So
like back to the old team photos of past.
Just like really back to the way it was, and like the way that it really should be. So obviously because of that, with the success that Australia has had, obviously it's really fantastic that both Henry and I were able to make top 8 and he was able to win. So it definitely shows in the results as well from what we've been able to do as a country.
Yeah, it's definitely been a breakout season. Like, the last couple of seasons, like Brent doing well at ICs before, and then like you and Henry both doing well at our own IC here, and then again at Worlds. Like, it's been a crazy couple of years for Australian Pokemon.
It definitely has, and I'm sure from here it'll only like evolve. I just hope that it'll keep evolving and get better, and I mean, seriously, like at this point, I just don't see a limit to what Australian Pokemon can be as in terms of a competitive force. Like it just seems like we can keep continuing and going and bringing people up with us. So hopefully that's the case, because it's definitely a really good community to be a part of right now. And probably the happiest I've been in the community in a very long time. So
it's great. It's what we like to hear.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah. So that's there's all the shout outs that I want to give.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks. Okay.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
no. Thank you very much for coming on, Kaiwen. And we will catch you next time on Chatting with the Cartel. Thank you very much, guys. We'll catch you later.